Good afternoon. My name is Dean McGovern. I'm with the Board of Trustees for City Club Missoula, and I'm happy to welcome all of you to our September Forum on Hunger in Missoula. A not so pleasant topic, but I trust that you'll all hear great news about the wonderful programming and initiatives being done in this community around this issue. City Club Missoula is a nonprofit organization designed to bring the headlines and the issues pertinent to our city and region to the forefront and to these open forums for public discussion. A hallmark of all City Club forums and presentations are that we are not to be presented to for the entire time, but actually leave space for open discussion and ideas for a good chunk of the day, and today is no exception. So as you listen to the front part of our presentation, be thinking about questions, concerns, and ideas that you have that you might want to bring out for everyone else's benefit. You may have noticed that we've changed locations, and you all found it okay. We moved from downtown to the lovely DoubleTree Hotel, and we will be here for the next year. For various reasons, the Board of Trustees felt it was a beneficial move for City Club Missoula. Hope you will agree. Hopefully you're enjoying the lunch, and you will enjoy our new venue for the next several months. Speaking of next several months, in October, we have a forum on the third Friday of the month, and the topic is escaping me. I can't. I'm sorry, Russell Street. Yes, we are going to, how could I forget? 3rd and Russell is our topic on the project that is being planned and hopefully implemented at Russell Street. And we will be hearing from several of the principals and people involved on the 3rd Friday in October on the Russell Street project. We welcome you to that. City Club Missoula is run on volunteer effort and sweat. I want to thank publicly our Board of Trustees again and our fabulous program committee that puts these together. Thanks, Barb. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Barb. Speaking of the program committee, they always need help and input in designing these forums for all of us to enjoy. And if you are so inclined and would be interested, please contact Elizabeth Drummond about joining the program committee. We could definitely use help. What do I have to do here? Make sure I hit everything. Oh yes, and there's a form, a yellow form on every table that you can put your email address on and return that in the basket in the back of the room, and we will contact you if you're interested. So please give us your information. If you haven't done so already, as a membership organization, we count on individual memberships and corporate memberships. So if you have not become a member of City Club, it's important for us to keep the lights on, keep one-person staff employed, and keep our publicity committee moving to have our membership ranks increased. So if you haven't joined already, please consider becoming a member. There are membership forms in the back of the room. In addition, we count on corporate memberships, and I want to take a little bit of time to thank the current corporate members of City Club Missoula, the WGM Group, New West, the University of Montana, Gilbert Architecture, and the Missoula Federal Credit Union for being our corporate members and helping us keep the doors open on City Club. Finally, being a member or not a member, we discuss constantly at our trustee meetings the opportunities that flitter through Missoula that we both catch and miss. And if you know of anyone coming to town that you have some advance notice of, that you think might be a great person to bring into City Club. If you wouldn't mind emailing us and letting us know that, and we could possibly contact that person or people and get them to join us at a City Club forum. And if need be, setting up a special City Club event in honor of this person's visit. Barb.
Claire mentions Elton John is coming.
Elton John, I hear, is coming. I heard something about Elton John, actually. But that's a great example. If anyone knows of anyone who knows Elton John, perfect example. Perfect example. And that is all I have with the business of City Club. You will enjoy, I trust, our presentation today. And without further ado, I want to bring up Wayne Chamberlain of our program committee to introduce the topic and forum. Thanks.
Well, to say that the food bank reaches every corner of Missoula would be a pretty gross understatement. First of all, we collect food and cash donations from essentially every corner of the community. We serve some 12,500 people per year. It's one of those good thing, bad thing. Good thing is we have a wonderful organization. The bad thing, we need such a wonderful organization. Our board of directors, I'm on the food board of directors, that's why I happen to make this transition. Past and present reads like a who's who of activists and active citizens in our community. We enjoy the support of some 400 volunteers. 400 volunteers. I'm reminded of the big Ferris wheel on the Thames in London, run by that little tiny cage in the middle, 150 cages on the outside. Well, the food bank, is run sort of like that, with a very small, dedicated staff. Works the services of 400 volunteers with programs to children, outreach programs to shut-ins, as well as our main distribution point at the food bank. There are several things happening in the federal government and in our local community having to do with providing and attacking this problem of hunger in our community. And Fred Simpson is going to introduce Bonnie Buckingham, who's our operations program manager at the food bank, to lead the discussion today on what we're doing and what we all can do to help make the food bank more successful, not only locally but federally. Fred.
Thank you, Wayne. For the record, I don't know Elton John, so I want to say thank you, first of all, to the City Club for inviting the Missoula Food Bank here to speak this afternoon. I am the other Fred Simpson, Abe. And I want to thank each and every one of you for turning out for this discussion today. Again, my name is Fred Simpson, and I'm currently serving in my second year on the all-volunteer board of directors at the Missoula Food Bank. The last year and a half have really been an eye-opener to me to see the great staff that we have at the food bank and to see what a marvelous job it does in the community. And I am grateful for this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about what we do there at the food bank in our effort to combat hunger at a local level. At a glance, and I think Wayne's covered some of these numbers, but I'll go over them again. In 2006, the Missoula Food Bank had 12,519 separate individuals come through our doors for food assistance. In all, there were more than 41,000 visits, so that's about 3 or 4 visits per client over the year. Let's go back to that first number, though, of 12,519 individuals. When you consider there are just under 100,000 people that live in Missoula County, and roughly 95% of our clients are Missoula County residents, that means that most of these people are our community members and our neighbors. They're not transients. They're not people just drifting through the community. That includes families. Another way to look at that statistic is that it's about 1 in 8 people in Missoula County is served by the food bank at some point during the year last year. I think it's also significant that about 33 to 50% of our clients are either employed or they live in a home where somebody else is employed. Unlike most businesses, we have an unfortunate fact at the Missoula Food Bank, and that's that our business is growing every year. We expect to see about a 5 to 10% increase in the number of people utilizing the food bank in 2007 over the 2006 numbers. According to our mission statement, the Missoula Food Bank distributes emergency food supplies to individuals and their families, and it strives to reduce the incidence of hunger through a community of volunteers and resources. How does it carry out that mission? First, it offers immediate relief from hunger by providing nutritious food. Second, it helps individuals and families move towards self-sufficiency. Third, it plays a leadership role in discussions like this one and actions to resolve hunger issues in the community. Fourth, it encourages community support and responsibility for food bank resources. When a client of the food bank comes through our doors, they're asked to complete a brief, confidential survey that we use in-house in the food bank so that we get a picture of who we're serving. There isn't any income requirement, there isn't any particular housing requirement. The information is gathered again so that we know who our clients are. Clients are then interviewed to make sure that all the information that's requested on the survey has been completed and to make them aware of other public assistance, public and private resources that would be available to them. That would include things like food stamps and the WIC program. The volunteer interviewers then let the person know about other local food pantries, feeding programs, and they offer information about where else they can go to get assistance for things like medical care, rent assistance, and that sort of program. Clients are then given a shopping list that with limits based on the number of people that reside in their household, and then they proceed through our agency, which is set up like a grocery store. They pick out the items they want. The process allows the client some choice and selection, and we hope that it resembles a traditional shopping experience, because I think many people might feel stigmatized that they have to go to the food bank in the first place. An individual client may be allotted something like 3 cans of vegetables, and hopefully most of the time we'll have a selection of 5 to 6 choices for them when they make their way through the store. That ensures the client ends up with food their family will actually eat, we hope. And based on the items on the list, we try to ensure that each client receives a 3-day supply of food for themselves and their family. Donors to the food bank and other anti-hunger agencies in Missoula include local grocery stores, bakeries, churches, restaurants, and thousands of individuals. Food bank holds food drives throughout the year, and the biggest by far is the holiday food drive in December of every year, which consistently results in food donations of about 60,000 pounds of food. We'll start getting food in large quantities around the middle of December. By early March, it's usually gone. Food bank also, fortunately, has a budget which allows us to purchase many staple items which we are typically finding go out the door very fast. These include things like cereal, rice, beans, oatmeal, canned fruits, vegetables, and tuna. After the client makes his or her way through the store, a volunteer helps the client package and box the food up, checks to make sure that the food items that the client has selected match what's on the list, and make sure that the client has received everything that he or she is entitled to. It's our goal at the food bank to make sure that the client receives and is treated with dignity and respect when they're at the food bank. Beyond serving the individual clients directly at the store, the food bank makes a special effort to reach 2 particularly vulnerable segments of our community: the kids, people under the age of 18, and seniors. 45% of the people served by the food bank are children. It's a pretty constant number from year to year. To try to better reach this population, the food bank has started the Kids Cafe program, where over 8,000 meals were served to children in the Missoula community this last summer. The program picks up where the school lunch program leaves off, and it provides lunches to children who may be at risk of hunger and malnutrition throughout the summer when they're otherwise not at school. Food bank also serves elderly members of our community through a program called Roots. ROOTS is an acronym, and it stands for Recognizing Other Opportunities to Serve. In the ROOTS program, about once a month, food commodities like peanut butter, cheese, canned fruits and vegetables, juice, cereal, dry and canned milk are sorted, packaged into individual boxes and bags, and then they're delivered by volunteers to homebound, low-income seniors. Currently, the ROOTS program serves about 400 households on a monthly basis, and it's divided up into 30 different delivery routes. Not only provides much-needed supplemental food to many low-income seniors in our community, but it also provides a personal caring visit to people who may not have a lot of contact with others in the community. Newest program at the food bank is the Food Share program, which provides transportation to about 30 people each month to the food bank who cannot otherwise get to the agency, to our store, with their own resources. It includes people in wheelchairs, people with vision impairments, or people suffering really from any kind of disability that prevents them from getting to our store. Another unique program that we're very proud of at the food bank is the Food Circle program. And through the Food Circle program, it's our attempt to rescue perishable food that would otherwise go to waste from various restaurants in town. This year, the food bank program, Food Circle program rather, will rescue about 100,000 pounds of food from places in town like Pizza Hut, University Dining Service, Missoula County Public School District Kitchen, and other places in town that serve food that would otherwise be discarded and end up in the waste dump. Fortunately, we're able to take the food, repackage it, and then distribute it for quick, easy dining by our clients. And the food that the food bank does not directly distribute is also passed along to other agencies in town that help feed people. So it's been a very successful program, and it seems to be growing quickly. The number went from about 60,000 pounds of food last year that was saved, and we expect about 100,000 pounds this year. We at the food bank are quite fortunate when it comes to volunteers. Wayne mentioned 400. I think the number may actually be closer to 800 people donating their time at the food bank throughout the year. Last year we logged 15,000 hours of volunteer time, and that work was provided obviously by a number of different people who are instrumental in caring in this community. At this point, I'll turn the podium over to Bonnie Buckingham. Bonnie is the program operations manager at the food bank, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the recent developments in the Farm Bill, which is now winding its way through Congress. I understand that it's likely to be debated in the Senate next week, and we're hopeful that the Farm Bill may actually have some provisions in it this year to assist people like our clients in their struggle against food insecurity. Before I turn the podium over, though, I want to invite everybody here to the 25th anniversary open house at the Missoula Food Bank. It's on September 27. It starts at 4 and goes till 7, so please drop by if you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. He gave a great overview of what the food bank does here in Missoula to help eliminate hunger. You probably know there are many other organizations that are working together with us. The Poverello, Missoula 316, the Salvation Army, a plethora of different organizations that really are working hard to make sure that we feed, house, and care for the people in Missoula that have fallen on hard times. And there's a lot of positive collaborations and efforts underway to create better community through food. And it kind of makes me proud, actually, to be able to work at such an organization. But when you stop to think about it, why do we have a food bank? Why are we working so hard to provide this much needed service that affects so many Missoulians? The underlying message here is that the picture of hunger is very grim. As Fred reported, 1 in 8 Missoulians are food insecure and rely on the food bank to supplement their food budget at least once each year. In the United States, over 35 million people including 13 million children, do not have adequate access to enough nutritious food to maintain healthy, active lives. This is in the United States, where we grow more food in a more efficient manner than any other country. Yet high housing costs, skyrocketing fuel prices, and low wages leave millions without the money to provide adequate food supplies to their families. Hunger is on the rise, even as poverty levels are reportedly going down. Paradoxically, it might seem, obesity is also on the rise, and the healthcare costs associated with obesity continue to increase. The U.S. Surgeon General estimates that Americans now spend more than $100 million on obesity-related diseases, and our current generation of young people might be the first generation that has a shorter lifespan than their parents do. The reasons for obesity are obviously many, and I'm sure complex. Lack of exercise, unhealthy food choices, and billions of dollars spent convincing us to eat fast junk food all contribute. And often we expend great amounts of time and resources in an attempt to convince people to change their personal behaviors. But I contend that it's our food and our farm system that is the major culprit for hunger, malnutrition, and obesity here in our country. As you may know, there is an omnibus piece of legislation that governs how our food is grown, what it costs to produce and purchase it, how it is distributed, and who has access to this food. We commonly refer to this as the Farm Bill. While most people think of the Farm Bill as a subsidy program for farmers, having very little to do with food, it is actually the most important legislation that we have, as it sets the direction of the American food system for the next several years. The Farm Bill is currently being called Farm Nutrition and Bioenergy Act of 2007 by the House. It was just passed in late July, and it actually makes up less than 1% of the total federal budget. And most people know almost nothing about what is included in this large and somewhat confusing multi-chaptered piece of legislation. Within the Farm Bill, there are 10 different titles. There are commodity programs, conservation, trade, nutrition, agricultural credit, rural development, ag research, forestry, and bioenergy. The commodity and nutrition titles receive the greatest amounts of the funding. 55% goes to nutrition, which funds food stamps and other food assistance programs, and 39% goes to the commodity title. And it's really the commodity title that is at the core of the Farm Bill, and it affects all the other titles and the programs. The Farm Bill determines the quality, quantity, price, and types of food available to the U.S. and international customers. While originally designed to support farmers during times of negative market fluctuations, the large majority of commodity payments now go to major corporations, who mainly produce corn and soybeans, and those find their way into almost all of our processed foods found on our grocery shelves as high fructose corn syrup and vegetable oils. And I certainly don't want to suggest that there's a higher occurrence of obesity among low-income people. I don't know what those statistics might be, but I simply want to point out that there are far fewer choices when your food budget is limited. Over the past 20 years, the price of fruits and vegetables has increased by 40%, while the cost of soda pop and other sugary processed foods has decreased significantly. Most people want to eat healthy food, and when they're given a choice, without cost as a factor, they tend to choose better food. Because of the structure of the commodity subsidy programs in the Farm Bill, family farmers that produce fresh fruits and vegetables are left out, and as a result, our food choices tend to be less healthy. Often, it is the cheap food that is the most affordable to low-income people, who must choose calorie-dense food over more nutritional, higher-cost fresh foods to stave off the pangs of hunger. Right now, this next week, we have an opportunity to help shape our food system. Next week, our senators will begin debating how to allocate the more than $70 billion to the 10 different titles that are included in the Farm Bill. And this is a daunting task, I'm sure. And I don't claim to have all of the answers, nor to be an expert on all of the different titles. But I just want today to call attention to the nutrition title and a few of the programs that can greatly benefit our community here in Missoula through the Farm Bill. First of all, the food stamp program. The food stamp program is the nation's first defense against hunger. It provides crucial support to those with limited incomes, and it brings nearly 90 million federal dollars to Montana grocery businesses. The food stamp program provides benefits through the use of an EBT card, an electronic benefits transfer card, which is very much like a debit card. It's run through the debit machine at various grocery stores. And it's used to supplement the purchasing power to those living at 135% of the poverty level. Right now, the poverty level for a family of 3 is $1,380, and 14% of all Montanans live below that poverty line. Across the nation, over 25 million people participate in the program, and yet in Missoula County and across the country, an average of 58% of those eligible actually enroll in the program. Why is this? For one thing, the average food stamp benefit level of $1 per person per meal is inadequate to helping families purchase quality, nutritious food. The minimum benefit amount of just $10 a month can hardly provide even supplemental amounts of food. And overall, food stamps are shrinking in value each year. During the 2002 Farm Bill reauthorization, there was a provision to index the benefit to the cost of living, and yet funding was never appropriated for that. Additionally, paperwork is required to apply for the program, and it's lengthy, time-consuming, and feels very invasive. And it's hardly worth the effort for the small amount that each person receives. There's a great need to streamline the application process, provide more funding to increase benefit amounts, and provide nutritional education through programs to help people get the most nutrition from their food stamp dollars. One of the programs that the Missoula Food Bank, in collaboration with a number of different other organizations, has helped initiate during this past year has been a food stamp program at the farmers market. Food stamp recipients can use their credit cards to purchase fresh, locally grown, and organic foods. This past season, which was our first season in this program, we saw over $3,500 in federal dollars that were spent just at these two markets. And we anticipate that as it goes on in the next couple years, that we'll see a huge increase in that. It not only provides much needed nutritious foods to families, but it helps our local farmers, and it provides a social benefit to those who participate as well. In addition to the EBT program, this Farm Bill can provide increased access to fresh food through the WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs, which also operate much like the EBT programs at the market. It can also provide funding for fruit and vegetable growers and programs that supply fresh food through direct local markets. National hunger organizations are calling on Congress to increase funding for the food stamp and other nutrition assistance programs to more adequately supply the cost of a nutritious and balanced diet that reflects the USDA food pyramid, and to eliminate the barriers that keep many food insecure households ineligible, such as savings accounts or other assets. A second program that has been very helpful is TFAP, the Emergency Food and Assistance Program. It's been a mainstay of government hunger relief efforts since 1981. And the program purchases commodity foods such as peanut butter, fruits, vegetables, grains, and meats, and provides it to people through emergency feeding programs, much like the food bank. The food bank relies on this program to help supplement the donated supplies that we get from our local community. And recently we found that the state storehouses of TFAP commodities had run dry, with little hope of having any additional TFAP food until February of next year. In order to make up for this shortfall, Missoula Food Bank has gone to the Missoula County Commissioners to ask for a one-time request of $28,000 needed to purchase the equivalent amount of food for the next few months. Since 2002, the funds for TFAP have been frozen at $140 million across the nation annually. And there's currently a higher cost for commodities and the fuel to transport them. So there's currently no additional food available until after the first of the year. Congress has the chance with this current Farm Bill to increase funding for this program, both in food purchase and distribution costs. And finally, as Fred mentioned earlier, Missoula Food Bank serves over 400 low-income homebound elderly who qualify for our program that we call ROOTS. The federal government calls it the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, or CSFP. This program provides nutritionally balanced food boxes each month to qualified seniors, mothers, and children who no longer qualify for WIC. These elderly people are some of the most vulnerable clients with few options for finding other sources for nutritious food. High healthcare costs, increasing housing costs, and special dietary needs associated with aging present critical problems for seniors living on low and fixed incomes. In a national survey of CSFP recipients, over 50% of the respondents said that they ran out of food each month, and this program helps to supplement their meager allotments. Most of the Roots clients have on average of only $750 per month in income. The CSFP program purchases food at wholesale prices, making it an economically beneficial program. They purchase on average approximately $50 worth of food for merely $15. This program provides great benefit for little cost, and it should receive full funding for its continued success. It not only provides seniors with needed nutritional supplements, but it provides a way for our volunteers to interact in a more meaningful way, stopping by for a visit while checking up on the folks that they're delivering to. Yet, we find that this program typically is one of the first things on the chopping block when federal dollars are tight. So within the nutrition title of the Farm Bill, there are many innovative programs that could be funded. And one of the most promising for us here locally has been the Community Food Projects Grant. This Farm Bill has an opportunity to support our local food system here by providing funding for innovative and collaborative grassroots projects that create new markets for farmers and enhance our local efforts to develop our own food system. Started in 1996, the Community Food Projects Grant Program has helped enrich our local food system by providing federal dollars for many programs. Garden City Harvest was one of the first recipients of this grant and now grows over 20,000 pounds of fresh food for the food bank and other local agencies in town. The Community Food and Agriculture Coalition was founded in 2005. CFAC is a coalition of interested people and organizations dedicated to strengthening our local food system, and we're doing this by developing several programs that promote sustainable agriculture, that build self-reliance, and that assure all of our citizens equal access to healthy food. We initiated the Farm to School program in our K-12 schools. Farm to School brings local food into our school lunch and breakfast programs, provides hands-on curriculum about food and agriculture, and educational opportunities within the community. Other projects include the EBT program that I mentioned at the farmers market and a land link program to match aging farmers with land to young farmers who want to farm but can't afford to purchase land. These are just a few of the many innovative projects that have resulted because of this relatively inexpensive grant program in the Farm Bill. Yet the House version neglected to include any mandatory funding for this, and hopefully the Senate will actually see the benefit and provide increased funding to help support our local efforts and give us more control of our own food system. So the Farm Bill can support both large-scale institutional programs, such as food stamps, which keep millions of Americans from going hungry, and also local small-scale programs, such as the Community Food Projects, that nurture local community-based programs. And both of these are necessary to work together if we're going to solve hunger for the long term. So as we talk this afternoon, I encourage us to look for ways that we can get involved in creating some real change. On your tables, there's a flyer asking you to imagine a Missoula County where everyone has access to food. It's the red and black one in the middle. I challenge us all to take some time to imagine what that would look like. What concrete steps can we take in our businesses, organizations, or as individuals that will help move us toward a hunger-free Missoula? I'm happy to field any questions that people have, but I hope that in our conversation over the next half hour or so, that we can come up with some real solutions How can we make change both locally and at the state and national levels that will begin to transform how we think about hunger and poverty and move toward food security for all? What would that take? What could we as a community commit to do that will create enough change so that everyone has adequate food and hunger is eliminated?
Thank you, Bonnie. So as usual, let's take about 5 or 6 minutes. About 5 or 6, 7 minutes. You at the tables talk amongst yourselves, come up with some questions that you might have for Bonnie or Fred, and then we'll continue the conversation in a few minutes.
I'd like to introduce a field representative for Senator Max Baucus, who has some updates on the Farm Bill.
Hi, everyone. Before I came to the meeting today, I was standing in the parking lot kind of getting an update from DC about the Farm Bill, and right now it's in markup. It's specifically the nutrition portion is being heavily looked at by Senator Baucus, and he has 2 staffers that are working very hard with him, and they are pushing very hard for the nutrition portion, the $4.3 billion in the next 5 years. So I just wanted to let you guys know he's very supportive of that portion of the bill, and that's why I'm here today, to keep sending information back and keep pushing for that. So, yes, and I just started 2 months ago with Senator Baucus as a field representative. Jennifer Ewan.
All right.
Okay. All right. Hi, thanks for the opportunity. We're here, at our table we have representatives from the Montana Food Bank Network, which is a state organization that talks about food security, not just having to go in once a year, but consistent nutritional food, which is something I'm sure we all want. And they are telling us that even though Senator Baucus is working on this, that he needs to be pressured because he has an incredible position in this debate as chair of the Finance Committee, because if they can't find the money in the Farm Bill to take care of these things, they have to find the money someplace else. So we're asking everybody to talk to people at work, talk to people in your organization, friends. The email address is here to let the senator know how important this is. And because when you think about, Bonnie, could you tell us again what the percentage of the overall budget for this country is to spend on the Farm Bill, and how that compares to what we do in other areas, like the war we're in right now? What are we spending?
It's less than 1% of the total federal budget. I don't know what the budget is, but it's $70 billion dollars in the Farm Bill that's spread across the 10 different titles. But again, these numbers are so immense because it's less than 1% of the total budget. So.
We were talking at this table about the question of how many times somebody has to go through signing up for the various programs. There's apparently some paperwork required to sign up for the school lunch programs and for various other programs, presumably. Is there any opportunity to streamline that so somebody has to only go through it once?
I think that's a great idea, and I think it's something that has been proposed a number of times. I think that different programs should work a little more closely together, so that someone could go to one central place and get all of the different types of services that would be available to them. That obviously hasn't happened yet, and you end up having to do the food stamps and WIC and all the different other programs that are out there. So that is one thing that I think certainly probably at a higher level than here in our community could be worked on. Yeah. And actually, were you guys a part of meeting with the people in Helena? we have some people here that actually were the participants and steering committee of this study that's shown here, Imagine Missoula County where everyone has access to food. And they have presented their findings to state officials of a number of different programs and really trying to get kind of a higher level buy-in for how to make changes in those very things as far as the application goes and qualifications and things like that. Yeah.
Our table talked about a couple of things. First, just a straight program that possibly might have a cafeteria where those that eat there help subsidize hungry who can come eat there as well and eat there for free, and that the interaction can sometimes be positive. But then we did shift to, and there was support for that idea, thinking it would be a good social interaction and an interesting attempt to bring the two populations together more. But then we did shift to the integral issues of what creates this many people needing a food bank, and the age-old questions of jobs, and not so much just jobs, but the income people are receiving. That you've got employed people still using the food bank. And until we tackle our economic situation and the income levels people are receiving, as well as issues of health care, sort of the combination of factors that contribute to pushing this many families and individuals over the brink so that they need help. And I did raise, and I will raise, the program that one of the programs we're trying to push, which is called High Ground Communities, getting Missoula off fossil fuels. The reason being, and we're starting to get interest by the unions and others in it, because it would mean jobs. It would keep more money home, higher paying jobs, and that type of a program, which is focused on the things that are starting to drive the prices, the everyday prices of gas, food, all the items that we look at as normally being cheap, will keep getting worse as oil runs out, and so we've got to deal with it, and maybe the solution will also be the solution to getting more people back employed at decent paying jobs and out of the food bank. That's what we talked about.
Walk over to this table.
Hi, Bonnie brought up something that I want to elaborate on, and that's on this flyer, the black and red and white flyer. And I think one of the important pieces to this that you need to know is this was a community-based participatory research project involving folks in Missoula County who are food insecure or have experienced food insecurity. So this project has gone forth and not only involved the folks using the services, but also interviewed and surveyed administrators of programs, frontline staff, and the results of this are going to be presented here in Missoula next week on Wednesday the 26th from 6 to 8:30 at Head Start on the north side of Missoula, and sure appreciate your attendance.
Yeah, at our table, we didn't really come up with a question as such, but we did talk about the fact that beyond community gardens, there's an opportunity in a lot of backyards for people to grow food locally. And we talked about the plague of zucchinis that we've got to stop this thing before zucchinis kill again. Wait a minute, here's a suggested question. Should I put my glasses on? Yeah, but don't read the top one. Okay. Financial assistance to take out lawns and replace with gardens. Yeah, that was important. And
There is any. The reason I ask is in Phoenix, there's a monetary incentive for people to take out their lawns and replace it with turf or other types of. You actually get paid by your community because of water restrictions. Is there any initiative in the state of Montana or in our region to provide grant resources, whether through people or through financial means, to actually take out lawns and show people? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, Abe, I didn't mean to just take right over, but sorry. But I could probably speak without this microphone. But so I was curious if you're familiar with any sort of program initiative in our community or our region that might give financial assistance either directly or through assistance with labor or education and actually taking out water-sucking, chemically saturated lawns. That's just my own opinion. And and replacing them with food-producing gardens. What kind of conversation? I'm sure it's around, but curious. Oh,
At the risk of causing at least momentary confusion, I'd like to suggest another perspective that may not be helpful. But I've always looked at the food stamp program as having poor, hungry people only as incidental beneficiaries. Why is it in the agriculture department? It's a subsidy to farmers. It's all part of the subsidy to farmers. The commodity program, even more obviously, specifically, fluctuates with the amount of surplus that's out there in the farm community. So I'm just suggesting that as a perspective that may be helpful when you analyze at the policy level what happens in some of the political machinations. Even the food stamp program is part of a subsidy to farmers.
Did anyone have a question that they didn't get a chance or a comment that they wanted to make? Oh, here's one.
Hi, I'm Nancy Picard, and my question is, who is it? I find it so ironic to look at these numbers, and they say that you can qualify for food stamps if you're 150% of the poverty level. Why don't they raise the poverty level? Why are we going over? I think that that's such an interesting bottom line, that if people aren't making enough money, why is it 150% of the poverty level? Why don't they double the poverty level? And who sets that number? And can we write letters and do something about it?
Yes, please do. Please do. The minute you leave here. Well, first of all, the guideline for the food stamp program is 135% of the poverty level, not 150. Okay, so it's even lower. 130, yeah. And somebody else raised the question of different places to go to enroll for different programs. Along with that is different eligibility guidelines for different programs. The WIC program is at 185% of poverty. The CHIP program is at 150, although the last legislative session raised it. TANF, the cash assistance program that used to be welfare, is at 100 or less. And Medicaid has about 60 different programs, so they all have varying. So 130% of poverty is not meeting the needs of people who are trying to be food secure. Because year after year, when the census data is done nationally, they have found repeatedly that unless a person reaches 185% of poverty, they are going to be hungry. And a lot of people that go to the Missoula Food Bank and food banks around the state are people that are making maybe $10 over the 130% of poverty, but they're no longer eligible for the food stamp program. We've had clients who've said, I refused a 50-cent an hour raise at work, and these are working people, because I would lose my food stamp benefits. And that's more critical than the raise. So it creates a fear of upward mobility as a result of it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on so long.
This is related to what Dre was saying, and it sounded like you wanted to answer what Andrea had asked about the possibility of growing food in our own yards and getting rid of grass. But for those of us that are harvesting lots of tomatoes right now, or errant zucchini, or other things, can we take them to you? Do you, okay, because I never know if you're allowed to take my food or not. And perhaps before we could get to a point of building beds for people, is it also possible to talk to the local nurseries or just create an initiative where it's plant an extra for your neighbor? I would plant an extra tomato plant every year for you. I would plant an extra zucchini plant every year for you. And so I guess I'm just kind of having those two related, interested in what's out there and what you guys, and then where do we take it and what are the most popular vegetables you need, that whole concept.
Yes, we do take fresh produce from people's gardens. Garden City Harvest promotes a program called Grow a Row and encourages people to plant an extra row in their garden if they have one in their backyard or in their community garden if they're a part of that. And we are more than happy to take any vegetables and fruit off of people's trees as well for our clients. We want to provide as much fresh, nutritious food as possible. And I wanted to say that the Community Food Projects grant is a great place for those initiatives to start. And the Community Food and Ag Coalition would be very interested in starting a program that did that and provided funding to start gardens in people's yards. And I also wanted to say to you that I totally agree with what you said and that the whole commodity program really does need to be revamped and become more fair and support small farmers that are growing nutritious foods, and that then we will have, I believe, a lot less hunger and a lot less need for such big food stamp programs.
Commodity programs are in the agriculture department. It will always be about farmers. Poor people and hungry people will always only be incidental beneficiaries.
The school lunch program is the same. It relies on the commodity program that we have as well.
For the same reason.
For the same reason.
Subsidy to farmers.
We got one more. Dick.
I think the program in Phoenix to encourage people to get rid of their lawns is an excellent idea. We don't need that here. What we need is a program to help us build deer fence so we can then have a garden.
Well, thanks again for letting us come today and talk a little bit about the food bank and also this topic on the Farm Bill. And I encourage you all to take the materials that I provided. There's a lot of different resources if you're interested in learning more about the Farm Bill or getting more involved. And if you want to work at a local level on some of these initiatives, be sure and give me a call. Thanks a lot.